Hi, this is David again, and I wanted to do this video on what I'm going to call selective law enforcement. I've had a couple of comments wanting to know, are people who are not members of the Mormon Church discriminated against in Utah? The answer is yes. What's it like to live in Utah? We're looking for places to live. I tell them what it's like. I have come across selective law enforcement when I was a little bit younger, probably in my 30s. I went to Oklahoma, and everybody in Oklahoma has a gun under the front seat of their truck. I don't care who you are. I've seen it with my own eyes and heard it with my own ears. It's against the law to carry a gun in your vehicle in Oklahoma, and especially loaded. It's against the law. You get pulled over, and the police see that. That is a felony in Oklahoma. And you can go to jail for that. Well, why do all the trucks in Oklahoma have loaded guns under the seat? Well, do you know? I do. I had a friend, he was a Mormon, and we were discussing one day if someone broke into your house and they had their TV in their arms and they were running and going to jump over a fence with it, were you allowed to use deadly force and shoot that person in the back? And I told him in the states and the Constitution, the Supreme Court says, no, you cannot use deadly force unless it's self-defense, if your life is in danger, or someone else's life. He said, well, in Oklahoma, we just shoot their ass. We shoot them in the back 8 or 10 times. I just kind of looked to the left and right and hope nobody else heard that, but if you're in Oklahoma, that's exactly what they do. Then they go around to the front and shoot him in the front and say, well, see, I shot him in the front first, then he twisted and I hit him in the back. And I told him, I said, you know, in the United States, you go to any court with that kind of a case where you've shot somebody 3 or 4 times in the back for stealing your TV, even if he's on your property, they're not going to convict you. And that old boy, he was older than I was. I was probably 30. He might have been 65 or 70. And so he said to me, well, you know, David, let me tell you something. In Oklahoma, if I was on a jury, I wouldn't convict the guy. And you know what? If any of my neighbors were on the jury, they wouldn't convict him either. That led me partially to drop law school when I began to realize that the law means nothing. It's the enforcement of the law, and it's the interpretation of the law. No matter how good you are as an attorney, it doesn't mean shit. It's the audience that you're playing to and how they see the fact pattern. So I learned a lot. I learned a lot right there in Oklahoma about selective law enforcement. Now, in Oklahoma and in Utah, they follow the same patterns. Almost everything is a felony. Grade 1, grade 2, A, B, C, D, aggravated. Both the states are crazy about felonies. Now, let me tell you why. It took me a while to figure this out. It took me a while to figure it out. If you're a convicted felon, can you vote? No. Does that give the people in office more of the good old boy system? Does that protect their jobs? So, when the police pull you over in Oklahoma, if you're not one of the good old boys, you're going to be arrested for that gun under your seat. You're going to go to jail. You're going to be convicted of a felony. Now, you're not voting. You're not one of the good old boys. You can't vote anymore. And thousands of people in Oklahoma, and I'm going to tell you now, in Utah, it's the same way. It's one way to manage the voting block. If you're a Republican with clean-shaven face and little glasses and your garments and you look like you never had sex in your life and they find an AK-47 under your seat in Utah, they're just going to say, hey, you know, that needs to be hidden a little better. If you're a guy with tattoos and you don't have on the Mormon garments and you're smoking a cigarette and they see that AK, they're going to call for backup, they're going to handcuff you, and your ass will be down in Point of the Mountain, which is our pet prison in here, in Utah, within months. And when you go before the jury, they see that you've got tattoos on, they see that you've got no garments on, they're going to convict you. That's the truth. If you're going to move to Utah, you better have clean hands. and you better obey the laws. I haven't had a ticket in 35 years. I've never had an accident. And when I get pulled over, they always pull. They always pull my entire criminal background. There's nothing there. Never been arrested. Didn't have a ticket for 35, 40 years now. Never had an accident. Now they want to see my insurance. I make sure I have my insurance. Now they want to see my license. Make sure my license is up to date. Now they want to see the registration on the car. They check that. Safety inspections. They check that. They look and look and look. You better have a pure heart and clean hands if you come to Utah to live, or you're going to live in Utah right now as the free members of the Mormon Church, not the members, the free members. I don't like the word non-member. You know, I don't see people going around that are in clubs going, oh, he's a non-member, he's a non-member. That's a Mormon phrase to try to humiliate people who have left the church. I refuse to be humiliated. I'm proud that I left the church. I'm a free Mormon. I'm gone. I'm out. I'm resigned. So, selective enforcement, you bet your ass. You bet your ass. If your car is broken down on the freeway and it's a Lexus and the people come along to remove it, oh, they take it out of there, no charge. They'll put a gallon of gasoline in there for you, take it away. You're on that freeway and your car's not registered properly, or there's something about it that they don't like, that car's impounded. Now you pay for the tow job. Now you pay for the storage fees for the impoundment, and then you have to go to the DMV and get your registration or whatever. And again, no matter where you go, I don't care if it's a driver's license division, I don't care if it's a wildlife and fish administration, I don't care if it's whatever government agency in Utah. If you're a free Mormon and not a non-Mormon or a Mormon, you're going to be treated differently. You're going to be treated differently. Oh, that line over there. That line over there, if you're not a member. Now, I'm exaggerating. Okay, I'm exaggerating here. But I'm getting a point across that I have seen it. I have heard it. I've gone over to meetings where you have a non-smoking complex. Not allowed to smoke on the grounds or in your apartment or your condo. Yeah. You come to Utah and you're a smoker, you're going to be screwed. You're going to be screwed. And if you stand outside the building in Utah and smoke, you have to be 25 feet away from the building doors. That's the law. Selective enforcement is a hell of a way to gain control over an entire population. It strikes fear and tremor in those who are free Mormons, and it comforts those who are Mormons. And then when you get to their judicial system, good Lord, I went in to help a man in immigration. He was illegally in our country for 9 years, and in 10 years he would have been able to stay. And I went in and I checked the judge out, and he was a stake president and a Mormon, long-standing Mormon. And I went in with a case fully prepared to argue, and I had the right. I'm not an attorney, but in immigration court in Utah, you don't have to be an attorney. You can go in if the individual allows you to represent them. I went in and made 3 appearances. The first one, I only said my name. That stake president shut my ass quick. He says, you don't even have a right to be in here. And the prosecution stood up and said, well, Your Honor, page 322 of 9999. He says, he can represent him. He can? He didn't know. The judge didn't know. He's an idiot. But he's a Mormon idiot. Not a free Mormon. He's an enslaved Mormon. So, I only got to say my name. I was trying to present pictures and evidence. You're an idiot! Now, I wonder where I've heard that. I wonder where I have heard on my comments from Mormons, you're an idiot, you're fat, you're uninformed, you don't do your research, you don't understand. Jesus, he's 70 years old, and he's saying the same thing that the 20-year-olds are saying on my comments. Whoa, is that a coincidence? No! That's a cult. That's a cult. So, the second time he said, if you don't come in here prepared with 100 pages of documents and annotations and bibliography, you know, you're not going to be able to do this. I said, yes, sir. I'll be glad to do that. So I come back the third time. I had all the information. You're not supposed to be here. I thought you said for me, don't talk! Don't talk! Okay. How do you defend your client or yourself in a Mormon environment where you're not allowed to talk? Gee, do you think he might have ever been in charge of a court of love? Now, the Mormon Church is slowly changing that phrase. They know it's stupid. It's not a court of love. That judge, stake president, had ruled over many of those courts. And I've had friends that have been in a court of love. You don't get to say shit. You can't bring anybody in. You have a big stack of papers, the stake president says, see, all these people say these things about you. Well, may I see that and be able to defend myself? No, these are sacred. These are secret. Court of love. Shit. The moment you walk through that door, your ass is out of there. Well, that stake president, who is now a judge, an immigration judge in Utah, he uses the same principles. It's selective enforcement. And we understand the law, we read the law, but geez, it means nothing to a Mormon. The laws mean nothing to the Mormons. And if you put Mitt Romney in there, he's going to change the laws or he's going to ignore the laws. And I found out from the immigration judge what it's really like to be in front of a judge in Utah. And then he threatened me with contempt, and I know what contempt is. That means he's going to put you in jail. If you say one more word, your ass, the bailiff is going to come and cuff you and put you in jail. And the next day, I went in to the clerk with a letter of resignation. I said, I'm not representing anybody anymore. I said, I came in to get a copy of the transcript, and he got off the bench. Off the bench, court was in session. He comes to the table, and through the bulletproof glass, he says to me, you're a troublemaker. I said, Your Honor, I'm just looking for the transcript. You're a troublemaker. I'm going to hold you in contempt. Yes, sir. I'm telling you what's happened to me. Does it happen to everybody in Utah? I don't know. But it happened to me. That's the way I was treated, trying to help an immigrant into our country. Selective enforcement is a form of profiling and discrimination. It's under the table. Almost impossible to prove it. And when I went to that judge, and I've been in front of 2 or 3 judges trying to help other people, not for my own problems, helping other people. I had one judge that I said, you know, you are a Mormon, and this has to do with Mormon facts, and I don't think you're qualified to rule on this, so would you recluse yourself? And so I put the motion in, and oh God, he went to his superior judge, who I'm sure was in his state presidency, and got an opinion that no, he was qualified to handle Mormon things. I've learned. Like I said, that's why I'm not an attorney. I quit law school because I knew it was a waste of time. Try to be an attorney in Utah and go against the Mormon church. You'll be out of business within months. Or your tires will be slashed, or you might be killed, or your children will be doing very poorly in school. Yeah, do they discriminate? You bet your ass they have. And they have ever since Joseph Smith got run out of the Kirtland money scandal in Kirtland City. So anyway, be aware. If you come to Utah, you better come with clean hands and a pure heart, and you better follow the speed limits. You better be more than perfect. You'll probably be translated and go into the celestial kingdom. But these assholes who are policemen, before I end, these things just keep coming back to me because they're so hurtful. I think as a human being, I just push them back. I push them back and pretend they never happened. I was trying to do some special education for my children in a school district, and a retired policeman in a small town was the security officer at the school. And I was going back and forth with the administration about, I need these services, and they said, no, we're not going to pay for them. And I'm saying, well, you know, we had discussions on them. And then I was in an open area of an office, and one of the ladies said, well, David, we really think we have a good program here, and we really think we get results, and we really know that we're doing the right thing. And I simply said to her, in a quiet voice, I wasn't doing this, I do this now, but I didn't. I said, oh, I understand. I said, well, do you mind? I don't want you to bear your testimony to me. I want to see some numbers. Let me keep it clean. Security guard came over, grabbed me, threw me in a room where there was one or two other uniformed policemen. I said, well, what's going on here? I'll tell you what's going on here. He pulls out a pink piece of paper, throws it in front of me, says, you know what that is? I said, well, sir, I can read. It says at the top, it's a no trespassing order. That's exactly what it is. You're not allowed on any school grounds, any campuses, any school-owned property, nothing. You're banned. I'm banned? Yes. Do you have anything to say? No, sir. I don't have a word to say. No, sir. You understand this? Yes, sir. Get off our property. Yes, sir. You ever hear such a thing? A parent being banned from their children's school property and all the junior high, elementary, high schools, all the parades on campus, all of the band practices, the PTA meetings, the graduation ceremonies, the Christmas parties. Have you ever heard of that? I didn't. Now, maybe I'm stupid. Maybe there's a million out there that goes, oh, yeah, I've been banned 8 times from my school, and I couldn't even go in and get my kids' lunch money to them. Maybe I'm making this shit up. Maybe I'm just being stupid here. Happened to me. Happened to me. So, I'm sitting at home. Never went on the campus. I wasn't going to break a law in Utah. Shit. I'm not going to break any laws in Utah. Oh, Jesus, that's kind of 9 o'clock at night or something. What's going on? So I go to the door. Here is this, whatever he was, 6'2", retired police officer, chief of police security at the school. He's knocking on my fucking door, and excuse me, no, it wasn't fucking, it was mucking door. And I had a big sign on my door that said, no trespassing. They don't obey the law. The Mormons do not obey the law. They solicit when there's no soliciting. So I opened the door a little bit, and when I saw who it was, he tried to put some type of papers through my door to serve me. And I don't know what the school was going to try to do now. I had no idea where they were going with this nightmare that they created for me, because I didn't want to hear their testimony. I wanted to see my children's IQs in numbers, standardized tests. Well, a short story long, he tries to push into my house. Now, I know my rights, but not in Utah. Not in Utah. If he says something different than I say, he's telling the truth, because he's wearing garments. He would not be dishonest in his business dealings. Bullshit. He tried to push through my door, and now, I can be a little, not aggressive, but what is the right word? I can be a little animated. And I wasn't animated. I was pissed. That number 1, the school showed up. Number 2, it was late at night. Number 3, I did exactly what they told me to do. And you know what? The Mormons are not going to stop. They're not going to stop until you are burned to a crisp or you leave their state. That's what I found. So he started taking his chest and bumping me. Well, I'm 6 feet and fatter than he was. So, I grabbed him and threw him up the staircase and said, you get off of my property and don't come back. And we had some words and some physical contact. Well, I went in the house. I know the Mormons. I was one of them for a half a century. I ran to my phone because I knew he was going to his cell phone for the police and he was going to tell his side of the story and I'm going to be handcuffed off to jail in this state. So I called the police first. I said, the head of that school district just showed up at my door, tried to barge in, was trespassing, put his foot over my threshold, and I pushed his ass up the staircase. Would you please come over here and tell him to get off the property? Well, 3 or 4 police cars. They don't have anything to do in Utah, generally speaking. So 3 or 4 police cars came over, and one took me aside, one took the other one aside, and I told my side of the story. He told his side of the story, and he had a weaker side of the story. He didn't belong there at night, and he didn't belong harassing me. And when he put his foot over that threshold, I know that was trespassing, and I had a right to even deadly force if I thought he had a gun or he was coming through for my kids. And so one for the Gipper on that one. And the policeman that was talking to me, he said, well, David, he said, it appears that this man is out of order, and he will be told so, and I will assure you he will not be back at your home. So thank you very much. I went in the house. Am I making this crap up? No! My eyes have seen it. My ears have heard it. I pushed him out of my house, and I have a no trespass order. Well, probably want to know the end of the story. I finally won the end of the story. They had to drop the trespass order because if I stepped on any school grounds or I picked a kid up or I went in to do anything, they would have me arrested, and it would ruin my life. They are set as a machine, like a garbage disposal, to ruin your life if you're not an active Mormon. If you're a free Mormon, then you're dog shit in Utah. So watch out for selective enforcement. Watch out for these guys who you put a little badge on them and they think they're God. And watch out. They don't obey the law. They obey their own laws. If the prophet says to them, kill everybody but the good Mormons, they'll do it. If the prophet says, give your daughter away, Heber C. Kimball, your little Helen Mar Kimball, to Joseph Smith at 14 so he can screw her and screw her and screw her and call it an eternal wife. You can get the Mormons to do anything. Be careful. Be really careful. They can be dangerous.